All right, we are here today. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate you all taking the time to check this out. Come to our second iteration of our virtual town hall sessions. We are really happy to be able to bring this service to you, and so fortunate to have so many folks throughout the community that are really looking to get the information out and try to help. And so today we have a teacher at Los Tules Middle School, Blake Maskey. Thank you so much for being with us today, Blake. It's fantastic. We're doing a session today on distance learning. So for all you parents out there who are having trouble thinking about how you're going to keep track of your kid, what you're going to do to help teach your kid while they're spending time at home, we have some tips for you. And thankfully, I'm sure Blake will get into this, but he can attack the issue from both sides as a father of four, I understand. So really glad to have you with us today, Blake, and thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me. So, welcome everyone. This is my first time doing a live on Facebook, so this should be interesting. But I appreciate it. Drew, I work with Drew's dad, and he gave me a call earlier this week, just as a parent, asking what are some tips, because we're in a really weird time right now, and where, man, it's bizarre because it's something brand new, and we're not allowed to be near each other to talk about it. We as people, we thrive on interaction with each other, and we've kind of been locked into rooms and locked into our homes. And, it's become difficult. And I'm learning more and more through interactions with other people that, man, it's just, they don't quite understand, what do I do? And we're all struggling with the same things. As I talk to people, I have friends and family that live up in the Sacramento area. I was just, did not secretly get a haircut today with someone who has family in, San Diego, and talking to them, and it's across the board. We're all having issues, we're all having problems, and so today I kind of want to just talk about some of those things. So I have a presentation. I don't know if you mind, Drew, if I just share my screen real quick for a second.
No, go for it, please. Thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to kick over to this, and I'm going to share. So what I've got here is there's a link here. You can pull this up at any time. Distance learning for parents. So it's bit.ly/DLP1920. So the caps do matter on that. So keep the capital D, capital L, capital P. It'll take you to this where you can access it anytime you want, and kind of go through some of these links on your own and explore it. So first thing first is talk a little bit about who I am. So my name is Blake Maskey. I have been teaching 7th and 8th grade math and computers for the last 9 years at Los Tules in Tulare, California, here in Central Valley. So I went to Vanguard, got a BA in Religion and Leadership Studies, then went back 7 years later, got my credential through Fresno Pacific, and then went back 5 years later and got my master's in education in curriculum and instruction. So I've done it. Now, luckily for me, my master's in education was 100% online. So I did get to experience this virtual learning environment firsthand, 30 units of college online in 1 year, including a master's thesis, including having to interact with other people. So I did get quite a bit of experience with this. Now, I thought that prepared me until this thing started. I do have 4 kids. I have a 7th grader, I have a 5th grader, I have a 2nd grader, and I have a kindergartner. So I have 6, 8, 9, and 12. So it's interesting. So in the years before I taught, though, I did have quite a bit of experience in the what I like to call the outside world of teaching, where I did spend 6 years working for a company here in Visalia called Gemini Duplication, where we converted documents. It was a fully online company that converted medical, legal, work files into digital and sent them out to clients through the cloud. I also, with my degree in religion, was working as a youth pastor, and I worked as an intern for a church. I've worked with students pretty much since I was 18 years old. So my passion is students and technology. And then my dad tortured me with math. So if he ever watches this later, he did. He can agree. He kind of got me with math from day one. I was the guy standing in the grocery line. He would tell me, hey, try and figure out the bill to the closest dollar before the cashier can ring everything up. So that's kind of where my background is. But as this has started, I have learned a lot about myself and about my kids and about, man, just trying to learn from home. So I'm going to just go over this real quick. As I was talking with people, I think this slide here is probably the most important slide we've got. First thing first, what does this mean for me and my kids? So I was just talking with Drew and his dad right now saying, hey, look it, this is new for all of us. Most of us, while we may have experienced technology, Tulare is a district that provides Chromebooks in the classroom, both in the high school and the elementary districts. We use them, but for instance, in the classroom, we use them or in the elementary, we use them in the classroom. We're not really used to this online learning. We don't spend a lot of time putting stuff out there. Some teachers are good at it, others are not. And that's just kind of where we're at. So I want you as a parent to first take a deep breath. Remember that we are all learning this together. We are just as unsure how to navigate these waters as you are. And man, we're trying to get through this too. A lot of times I know people look to us for what's the answer. One of my roles at Los Tulas is head teacher, where I get to interact kind of halfway between teaching and administration. And I get a lot of questions. Hey, what are they saying? And I'll be honest, we're all kind of stuck in the same boat. We're waiting for information, and a lot of stuff's being put out there, but we're all just kind of holding our breath because we don't really know. And we are just as unsure as you, and we are struggling. But I do want to let you know we will get through this. Guys, this is something that will end. There will be a plan, and it's going to stumble at first, just as we kind of have with this. But as we get more familiar with whatever it is, whatever comes out of this, just know that we will be better for it, because we'll have, should something like this happen again, let's hope not, we will be better prepared. So just a couple things for you as you're doing distance learning. First thing first, guys, keep a set schedule with your kids. And that may be hard. I know for me, it's difficult. I'm not having to get up every morning and drive into work. So getting up at 4:35 in the morning, going to the gym, having my coffee, drinking my protein shake, getting my kids breakfast made, man, that's just out the window. I can't even go to the gym. So, in the first few weeks of this, I couldn't even figure out what time I was supposed to get out of bed. But what I learned real quick is my kids, if they don't have a schedule, especially my younger kids. Now, my 12-year-old, he's 7th grade. He's hormones raging. He's got all kinds of stuff going on. And man, if he would sleep till noon if I'd let him. Okay, he can go to bed at 10 o'clock at night, and I can come in here at 10 a.m. and shake him awake, and he wants more sleep. He's a teenager. But he needs a schedule. But my 6-year-old, my 8-year-old, if I don't get them up in the morning, get them their breakfast, get them started on their schoolwork, if I let them go, and there's been a couple mornings where I'll be honest, I've had a hard time. My brain gets off. And if I let them, hey, watch TV for an extra 30 minutes while I just relax, it's important, and we'll get to that on the last thing here. But they lose track, and it's real hard to get them back. It's one thing I'm learning. I've always told people with teaching younger kids, I love younger kids. They're a lot of fun and a lot of energy. I've never really had the desire to be in a classroom with younger kids, but as I'm learning, it is a much more rigorous schedule than even junior high and high school. They're a little more self-contained. They can kind of move themselves along, but your kindergartner, your first grader, they are used to their teacher guiding a lot of what they're doing. So make sure you have a set schedule, even if it's as simple as we get up, we brush our teeth, we eat breakfast, we sit down, we start doing our work, we get a break at 10, so they know. My kids learn 10 a.m. is when we get break time, and they get a 20-minute break. And during that 20-minute break, we go for a bike ride. We go swim in the pool. Well, not today we did, but not on other days. We make sure we do that stuff. So have that set schedule. And then secondly, make sure you have a set place to learn, because they need that. In school, they have a desk. Students have a desk. Even if they're in junior high or high school, in their classroom, they have a desk. They have been assigned a seat. So when they walk in, they know this is where I learned from. So making sure your kids have a place where they learn that is as free from distraction as possible. Now, I know it's hard. Okay, my 7th grader and my 8-year-old are both ADHD. And so, man, there's days where they can sit in the same room and do work, and there are days where I got my 7th grader, suddenly I'm dealing with my kindergartner, and my 12-year-old and 8-year-old are on the floor wrestling, and I have no idea what's going on. Work has stopped. It's just insane. So try to make it free from distraction, but understand that the kids are not going to be real comfortable with this, because they aren't used to it either. They're used to walking into an environment with a desk, with their pencils. Elementary kids, they have a desk in a room. They have a teacher in the front. There's a room that at this point in the school year, they've become very comfortable with. So try and do that. Give them some understanding that this is not normal and they're going to have a hard time. The other thing is this, man, what I'm learning just now talking with my daughter's kindergarten teacher, these kids need interaction. Your older kids, they get it. They got their phones, they got their Xboxes, they're playing online. My son, that's his reward every day is he gets his Fortnite. He gets to get on and play with his friends. He's got his microphone. He gets his hour of Fortnite every day where he can talk to his friends. You know, they text each other. But you know what? My kindergartner, she doesn't have that. And man, if she doesn't get that interaction with those kids, it begins to, I can feel it with her. And so even if it's just getting them on a FaceTime call with one of their friends or a Google Hangouts call, if you've got an Android phone, let your kids have some time interacting, because as safe as possible, I'm not saying go over to their house and swim in their pool. I'm saying somehow get them to talk on the phone. Today, my 8-year-old, he was feeling bored. He was feeling distracted. I called up one of his best friends, called up, you know, Mom, hey, can he FaceTime with Daniel for a minute? Absolutely. They came upstairs for an hour and talked on the phone together. And he came down, he was relaxed, he was ready to work again. So, you know, kids need that. And that's that last point. Focus. This is the biggest drag, is the social emotional health of these kids. They are having a hard time. And a lot of districts are putting out some things for you to get resources for that. So for instance, Tulare has sends out an email every day. And in that email for our elementary district is a link to a website to help your kids with their, what we call social-emotional health, giving them a way to learn to balance this. Because as you are stuck in your home, you are getting depressed. It's hard. It's that winter month feel. It's that I can't leave the house. I can't see my friends. And it does begin to interact on their brain. So make sure they're active, make sure they're getting up and moving, making sure as safely as possible, you get your kids to do something that keeps them healthy. Okay. So Drew, I don't know, are there other people? Are they responding, or I don't see it, so I don't know.
Yeah, we've got people tuned in right now. There haven't been any questions yet, although I did forget to mention that at the beginning. If any of you have any questions that you want to send in while we're going through, I will cut Blake off and let him know that there's a question coming in. So feel free to shoot away. But as of right now, please continue with the presentation. It's sounding great.
Okay, good stuff. All right, so let's move into what can I do for my kid? Okay, so now I'm going to run through a couple resources. And I don't know where people are coming in from, but I'm part of something called the Central Valley Q, which is a group of educators that deal with technology, that learn about technology. I presented for them just this last weekend on creating Google Sites for your classroom. I've been to quite a few of their conferences. I got the pleasure of going to Palm Springs last year to present for them in regards to a program that I use in my math classroom. So I'm going to use some resources here that I feel are pretty universal across most districts that I've seen and people I've interacted with. Now, here's the biggest thing. Hopefully, teachers are understanding this, that this is not the time to go try something new. Even as a parent, giving your kids something that they've never used before on the computer, it's gonna mess with them a little bit. Okay, they're gonna have a hard time. One of the things that I've been learning is if they weren't using it in the classroom when we left, you're not going to teach them how to use it away. Our kids, as a computer teacher, what I've learned is our kids are great consumers of technology. They can FaceTime, they can text, they can play video games. But as far as the actual business day-to-day use, if you sit a kid down and tell them to create a document and type you an essay online or to research, especially your younger kids, you may say, hey, my 7th grader, man, he knows how to play Fortnite. He knows how to do Minecraft. He does. He's great at video games. He consumes. What we are trying as teachers is trying to teach our kids to be creators and to be users, not consumers, to be the ones that know how to interact with the technology. But unfortunately, a lot of our kids don't. They would rather use their phone to watch Netflix, to watch YouTube. I catch my son, anytime I turn around, my 12-year-old is on YouTube. You know, hey, you get a 10-minute break. It's time to take a break. You've been working for an hour, 45 minutes. Take a 10-minute break, stretch your legs, walk around the backyard. What do I find him doing? He's on YouTube. He's texting his friends. So what I want to point you at are some utilities that I believe most districts are using, that if they're not, your kids may be familiar with them. As the parent of a 7th grader and as a teacher of 7th and 8th grades, most of my parent conferences, I tell the parents, hey, you know your student gets assigned things through this, and you can go in and check, right? And the parent's response is, no, my son or daughter never ever told me that they have their assignments in Google Classroom. It's like, what? We've been using this all year. And as a teacher, sometimes that's, on us, it's hard to, especially 7th and 8th grade, we've got anywhere from 160 to 190 students we're juggling. So we don't always realize that the parents aren't always getting all the information. So let's start with Google Classroom. This is right now probably one of the most popular platforms out there for teachers to assign work. Okay, now college level, it steps into something different, but Google Classroom, I'll go ahead and click, and all these links are clickable. If you click on Google Classroom takes you to here. Now, this is my personal Google Classroom, which you can have. Google just opened this up. You don't have to have a student account, but you can. So your student in most districts has a Google account of some sort, mostly because Google opened up their accounts for free to school districts years ago, and it has put them at the front of this pack. Microsoft, some districts are using Microsoft, and if that's your district, that's great. They have some similar programs. But so, for instance, Visalia and Tulare are both using, here in Tulare County, the biggest districts, are both using Google Classroom. So in Google Classroom, what you'll see, and I'm going to switch accounts here just so we can, you can kind of see what the classroom looks like. So this is my Google Classroom. I have all my classes loaded up. I'm a computer teacher. I'm an avid teacher, and then I teach a broadcasting class. And inside these assignments, you'll see the kids can click on them, and you as a parent can ask your student, log into your Google Classroom. And it's really as easy as sign in and then sign in with Google. And you will see assignments. So here are the assignments that I have given my kids. I'm sending them weekly videos. I'm giving them options. And inside this, if they click on it, they get instructions. They can go to classwork, and they can see anything that's been assigned to them over the last few weeks. And so this is really a great resource for you as parents, because some teachers are assigning their assignments. In Tulare, we've asked teachers to not only give out the paper packets, but to put them online as well. So I give my students a paper assignment because not every parent has access to the internet. Not every parent has access to something like this. But if you do, this is great, because for me, I can see when the kids get on there. I can see if they've edited a document. I can see if they've been working. And then they can turn it in without ever having, in this era we're living in of not really wanting to, even driving through a school, they can turn in the assignments. They can communicate with me. And it's all protected under our school account. So it's safe. All right. So this is a great place. Your students can see their assignments. My students, I'm lucky enough that my younger three go to a private school, and their teachers do all their work on Google Classroom. Now, it did mean that I had to go buy a printer because I have to print out a lot of things, but in Tulare and in public schools, that's not something that you have to do. The teachers, we provide it for you. So if it's online, it is fully online. So your students can work online, they can do their assignments. So for instance, with my students, I'll just take a look at the assignment that I gave them here. I can quickly see that I had some students turn in this assignment. I gave them a video. I gave them the beginning of it so they could start it. You can ask your student, they will see something just like this, but instead of saying 2 turned in, I'm pointing at the screen. I'm sorry, I'm like pointing at the screen like you can see my finger. Let me use the mouse. Instead of their student having this in the corner, it will say turned in or submit. Now, if it says turned in, that means they turned it in. If it says submit, that means your student has not turned that assignment in yet. So just as a parent, that's a real quick way for you to see from your students, are they turning in their assignments? Okay, so I'll stop right here. If anyone has any questions, feel free to send them to Drew. But that's Google Classroom. Now, I can go through at a different point. Feel free to email me how Google Classroom if you have questions, because I'll be honest, I have done an entire hour-long presentation just to parents on Google Classroom and how to get your students into it and how to be a little more proactive in that. And I could maybe set up something if there's enough interest to teach some parents that stuff at a later point. So that's Google Classroom. Now, if your district for some reason is not really assigning, or you feel like, hey, my 7th grader had an hour worth of work. And sorry, excuse me. My 7th grader had an hour's worth of work, and now they just want to play video games. And I really feel like I need to challenge them some more. This next website is one that's been out for a little while. It was created a few years ago, And it's a free website. It actually doesn't even put ads on it. They raise their money 100% through fundraising efforts, through people donating. And it's built by educators, and it's called Khan Academy. And so Khan Academy is a free learning. So you can sign in. So I got Drew in the way here. Hold on. You can sign up, or log in. Again, using everything we tell students to do is do it with Google. So for instance, at Visalia Unified, where my oldest boy goes to junior high in Visalia, I said, sign into your Khan Academy. Well, my teacher didn't give me anything. Please sign into your Khan Academy. Okay. Continues with Google, signs into his Khan Academy, and lo and behold, his teachers have all been assigning work through Khan Academy, and he didn't even know it. And what's great is through Khan Academy, you can see, so you can go to your resources for the student, okay? So actually, sorry, I'm gonna go to courses. So as a teacher, this is how I use it. I go in, I find the course. Hey, I'm teaching pre-algebra, that's 7th grade math. Your student will be US history. Now, you as a parent, you could tell your student, hey, why don't you just go in? Why don't you see? Now, you'll notice it has math twice. That's because this started as a math training website. But as you can see, it has expanded into almost everything, all the way up through AP World History, AP US Government and Politics. That's a 12th grade advanced placement course. So your students can go in here. I mean, we've got stuff on electrical engineering, biology, health and medicine. Your students can come in here. They can click on something. So for instance, I'm going to go to 7th grade because I have a 7th grader. Negative numbers, addition and subtraction. It's got things like mastery points up here. So your student can click get started, and it's going to give him some videos to watch, but it's got over here a sign, and you can see start, practice, practice, practice. And when they get it right, it will tell you what % they got. So you as a parent can say, hey, show me, if your student's like, hey, I finished this one worksheet, or I didn't really have anything for today and it's been 40 minutes, go to Khan Academy. Even if the teacher didn't assign something to them, you can find their grade level. You can find a subject and you can have them practice right here on this screen anything that they want to do from the beginning of 7th grade all the way through. And you can also see how well they're doing. So you can quickly assess, hey, my kid gets this, or my kid doesn't get it. So it has videos on the side for them to watch. Now, I'll be honest, these are not the most exciting videos, okay? These videos are kind of like it's like a computer chalkboard. So I remember when I was in junior high and high school, you always had that one teacher that would just write on the chalkboard, and you just had to take notes. Even when I was in college, there were a few professors like that. That's kind of what this is. The guy is talking. He's going very quickly. But the nice thing is, unlike in college where you just had to write it, or high school, you had to write as fast as you could and try and figure it out later, your kid can pause. Your student can pause and kind of look at it. Oh, okay, I see what they're doing. And if they start the lesson and don't understand, they can always jump back to the video and take a look at it. So this is a great site for you to get your students on if you really feel like, hey, they're not getting a lot of work. And again, even if they're not being assigned it by their teacher, they can still come in here. They can still create an account. They can sign in with Google. That way you don't have to remember any passwords. And they've got full access to this entire site for free. And again, there's no ads, there's no pop-ups, nothing like that. So it's really a good site for you to take a look at with your student. Again, really, and like I said, my oldest is in 7th grade in Visalia, and he logged into Khan Academy thinking there's nothing there, and his teacher had begun assigning assignments in Khan Academy. So there is a good chance that that is where your teacher or your student is. Now, these next two links are unique to Tulare and Visalia. So I'm going to show you the one for Tulare first because it's the one that I have access to, but it's a program called Clever. And what this is, what they did is they gave districts access to create a quick account where your student can log in. So this is the one for Tulare. That's the link right there. If I click on it, no, it's not. Oh, I'll fix that link. Sorry. It should be n/TCSD. They're going to log in with Google. Now, again, chances are your student knows their Google account. Okay. So log in with Google. I'm going to sign in with my school account. And what you will see here is a quick, easy access to our entire digital library. So here in Tulare, these are all the things that our district subscribes to. We use BrainPop and BrainPop Junior, Dreambox, which is a math program that the students use in our district, kindergarten through 8th grade. Everfi. Everfi is a program that teaches kids quite a few different things. It's got quick access to their Google Drive. Studies Weekly, this is their social studies. Formative. A lot of teachers use this to give out their assignments on a daily basis, okay? So scroll through this. All they have to do is click on stuff. Now this one here, this is, your student won't have this because this is for employees, but Google Apps, they will have this. They need to create, if the teachers ask them to create a Google Doc and they don't remember how, right here, they click on this, it'll open up Google Docs for them. For us, if your student is having a hard time, they want to read a book. Tulare City School District subscribes to a few different things that are online books for your student to read. So for instance, my kids have been using this one, Storytime or storyonline.net. And if you click on this one, these are, so again, for my kindergartner, this is great because this is people reading stories to them with the words on the page, which is real important for your kindergartners. As much as I am a math teacher, if your kindergarten, first, second graders are not reading 20 minutes a day on a daily basis, you will see a drop in their ability to perform as they enter the next school year. So here's something you can access every day from home online and get books read to your kindergarten or first grader. Sora is what our district subscribes to that lets you download books and read PDFs. So your 7th grader needs to read a book and get his AR points. Right there it is. You can click, they can search up a book, they can read it online, and then they can't take the AR test yet, but then they're at least getting their brain into that mode. Again, are you gonna spend hours on this? Are you yourself gonna go plan something for your kids? No, but this is a place where you can say, hey, why don't you go? You need to read for 30 minutes. You finished your work, I want you to go to your room and read, or I want you to sit here on the couch and read. And you can trust that they're on their computer doing something. Okay, my kids, as much as they like watching YouTube, they also like this storylineonline.net as well, because it is interesting to them. Little kids like that teacher vibe, teachers talking to them, teachers giving them information. So that's clever. Visalia Unified has similar. I wish I should have had my son log into his account, but Visalia Unified has a real similar thing, but for Visalia Unified, they have something called Go Math. That is an online math program that's real similar to Khan Academy, where they go and you can do lessons through Go Math. So you, same as Khan Academy, they go in, they do lessons. They also have something they use called Lexia, I think it's Lexia Pro or Lexia Blast, where they take a test at the beginning to see where they're at, and then it begins assigning them lessons based on how well they did. And it's based on grammar, spelling, their ability to do punctuation, their writing ability. So again, for my son, when he tells me after an hour, well, I finished the worksheets for today. Okay, hey, great, go to Clever. I want you to go to your Lexia. Go to Clever. I want you to go to Sora and read a book. Go to Clever. I want you to go to your Go Math and see what lesson you can do that your teacher assigned to you. And so it really is a good way for your student to continue interacting. Okay, so those are some sites. Now, there's one at the bottom for those of you, code.org, when your kids get really bored with doing absolute schoolwork. Code.org is something for students to use where they can go, you can sign in, again, sign in with Google. Everything is that easy. Sign in with Google. Your kids have a Google account. Most districts do. Sign in with Google. So if you sign in with Google, what this is this is coding. This is teaching kids coding. Some of it is more complex. Some of it is real simple. Okay, this was created about 5 years ago, this website, where your students can go right here to course catalog. No, sorry, not course catalog. I apologize. I'm going to go back a little bit. That's for me as a teacher. Code.org. Where are, it's not giving me the right options. Learn, there we go. Sorry, your kids will have the option to learn. All right, this is going to not work for me, of course, because this is technology. Sorry. Let me, I'm going to sign out real quick. Just sign out because this is not where I wanted to go. Code.org. Learn. I want to learn. I want to learn coding. Learning coding. Anyone can learn computer science. If this takes me to the same page, I'm going to get frustrated. You know what? I'll fix this. What this should do is give you, I'm going to change it to this, hourofcode.com, because this is where they can go. And this is the same place. Great. This is where I was trying to get to. Hour of Code. I am so sorry for those of you listening. This is how it works sometimes, even as a teacher. Hour of Code. So this is where students can go, and it gives them an assignment. Now, based on the grade level of it, it's probably not going to take them an hour to complete, but this is designed, and it kind of gives you an idea. Grades 2+, pre-reader, where the kids can learn some really basic coding things, and it's geared to get kids engaged in it. And it walks them through step-by-step instructions. You have people like, I can't remember his name right now. The guy who invented Facebook.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg. You have Mark Zuckerberg. You get Bill Gates. Not Steve Jobs, but the new guy that's in charge of Apple.
Tim Cook.
Tim Cook. Sorry, it's been a long day. Those guys are on there. They're creating videos. People who are currently, guys who make Minecraft, they're on there. They give the kids instructions. They watch a video. Then they go through creating through various apps. They do activities. And as you can see, there is quite a bit here. It reaches out to lots of different kids. But again, something like Learn to Code with Crossy Road. So, but again, this is grades 9+. So you've got that high schooler that is getting bored with all the just mundane worksheet math. Here's a way they can go in. They can begin to learn some coding and get excited about it, because it does a lot like a game with levels that they have to pass, but they're learning coding at the same time. So that is Hour of Code, and I will change this here so that it goes to that instead of code.org. But that's another place that kids can go. And then the final one is for those of you that are really you're like, I want to go even deeper. I want to create a lesson for my kid. I want to be fully engaged, because either your district's small or for some reason your kid is just having a hard time. This website here, Ditch That Textbook, it's a guy called Matt Miller. And this guy has been doing fully online learning for a while. He's got blogs, he's got books you can buy. But the biggest thing you can do is go to his tab on Google, and he has quite a few things that you can do. Now, Google Classroom is more for teachers. Google Slides, Google Drawings, Google Forms. What can you do as a teacher? And I'll be honest, this is where I pull this Google Slides and Google Drawings is where I pull a lot of my ideas for my computer tech students. I go in here and he will have a way for you to create something. And it's a downloadable form. And it just depends, what do you want to do? How do you want to create an interactive notebook? Do you want them to create Instagram stories, but not really be on Instagram? My kids are doing stop motion. And you saw in my Google Classroom, they're using Google Slides to do stop motion. I stole that from this guy, creating a template with Google Slides for stop motion. So this is really for those of you parents who are wanting to get more advanced, or if there's any teachers listening, this is where I'm stealing stuff. I listen to his podcast once in a while. He has some great stuff. So I steal this from him. It's pretty in-depth. You got to have a pretty good knowledge of how to use these tools if you're going to go here. But again, this is for those of you parents that you really want to kind of step up. But how do you make things? So this is more for teachers, but what are some ideas that students can do in your home? You can tell them, hey, I want you to go create a flip book, a Google Slide stop motion animation, and you'll find it. Now, last but not least, guys, you can always Google things. If a teacher has done it and you're stuck, Google it. If you're like my kid, I had to do it the other day. My son was asking me about a spelling word and he needed a definition and like, I was like, man, it has been, I don't know. Let's Google it. Looked it up, looked at how to do it, figured out how to plug it in. There we go. Okay. I am a parent just like you. I get stuck. I don't know what my kids are doing sometimes. And so I am in it with you guys. So that's the biggest thing. Now, a lot of parents ask, how long should I have my kids working? So just from my own experience, what I've found is that my kids can make it till about 12. If I start them by 8:30, they can make it till about 12 or 12:30. After that, it becomes difficult to keep them on task because they are at home. They're not, like I said, they're not in their normal environment. And man, guys, if they want to take a break and interact with their friends, if they want to take a break, just give their brains a rest. And the way they do it is by going up to their room and listening to music. Let them do that. Do I still encourage them to, yeah, get out there and learn? Yeah, because we are going to start school in the fall. What that looks like, we don't know. But man, they need to come back prepared. The last thing we want your kids to do is come back and feel like they are behind. But here's the thing. The good thing is this: we're all struggling in this together. We're all having a hard time together. And it's not, we're in it together. And that's why our hashtag for us is Together TCSD, because guys, we're together TCSD. If you're in Tulare, I'm a parent with you. I'm not a teacher. I don't even have the answers for teaching at home. I'm struggling just as much as you are. So I'm going to kick my screen share off because that was the final slide there has my contact information on it. But yeah, if you have questions, email me, guys. I respond to emails pretty good. I usually shut off about 9:30 at night and stop. But I'm up. My wife is, luckily my wife's in finance. So we've been blessed that finance is still considered an essential business. So she's still going to work every morning. But those of you parents that are home with 3 or 4 kids by yourselves, I feel you. I'm trying to do my job and teach my kids. I'm right there with you. I'm trying to interact with my students. I'm trying to, if you've ever tried to teach an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old and a 12-year-old at the same time, and it's it's not easy. You get, the 8-year-old, I'm trying to explain to him how to write, while my 6-year-old's trying to understand her math, and my 12-year-old's trying to text his friends and look at YouTube or ask me when he can play Fortnite later in the afternoon. So, guys, I'm with you. This is a struggle, and it will get easier as long as you learn to take a deep breath. But parents, you need to take some time too. When my wife gets home at night, I give her time. She's worn out. She has to work. But I get out of the house. I have to get away, because if I'm locked in all day too, it's going to begin to affect my social emotional health. So for me, with the gym closed, it's biking. I get on my bike. I go on a bike ride. For you, if it's taking a walk around the block, if it's just going out in your garage. So my dad he does woodworking. So I remember when we were young, that was during the summer, when he would go out and he would work in the garage on his stuff. Whatever it is for you that is your outlet, go out, get that for you too, because you need to be healthy for your kids. Okay. If you're not healthy, then your kids are not going to be healthy. And it's a two-way street. You need to be able to help them. So take that break. Make sure you're getting that time for you, because if you are locked in with your kids, this feels like for me is summer vacation for 6 months. You're going to have a hard time. Okay. So this is long, it's trying, but we will get through it, guys. So Drew, does anyone have any questions out there? Is anything?
Yeah. And thanks for that, Blake. Thanks for touching on the social emotional side in addition to the educational. That's definitely very important for both the kids and the parents. We do have one question that's really topical for what you were just mentioning in terms of kids being on such a long hiatus, almost like an extended summer break. And so we have a question here from Alex, and as a teacher and not an administrator, maybe you might want to defer to someone else, but just a question here saying, talking about, school districts discussing potential no grade policies for this last semester, for the end of the year. Just looking at how school districts are preparing for students who may be behind come next year because of all of this pandemic.
And that's something, I'll be honest, lucky for me, I am kind of in the administrator. I'm on that track working through so I do get to interact with them. I know for Tulare what it is, and I know for the high schools what I've heard. I haven't had, someone can come in later and kind of talk about this maybe a little more. But what it is for next year, we just don't know. I'll be honest. For next year, we have not heard. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of catching up to do. And what that looks like, we don't know yet. We haven't been told what grading policies are going to look like for next year. We don't know what it's going to look like, how far we're going to have to back up. Obviously, we're going to have to. There's no way that my incoming 7th graders, I'm going to jump them right into 7th grade material. For us, they missed almost 60 days of school. They missed a third of the school year by going out March 17th, or 48 days or something like that. That's almost a third of their year. And it's state testing, and it's when we really solidify what we've been learning. So for next year, I don't know. I know for this year, a lot of districts are kind of doing some different things based on what the state is saying. But my understanding of what the state is saying is this, is that if the student was passing when school ended, when we went on lockdown, their grade cannot go down. Any work they're doing can only improve their grade for this time. So, and for us in Tulare, we've been instructed, if you had a student that was failing when we went into lockdown, that we should be contacting parents individually, along with an administrator, setting up a plan so that we can get them at least up to speed at the point where we left. Because the last thing we want to do is, hey, this kid was struggling when we went down, or not went down, when it shut down, sorry, when everything shut down. We don't want that kid. He's now going to come in even further behind because, hey, he was or she was struggling at the end of, at March 1st, they were sitting at a D in my class or an F, which means they really weren't getting it. And now they've missed even more education. So now they're not 50 days behind. They're 80 days behind, 90 days. So we do have a plan in place. I haven't heard, like I said, I have a son in Visalia. I haven't really heard what theirs is. From a Tulare standpoint, that's what it is. If we are reaching out to those parents who had students that were behind. But as far as next year, obviously, I want parents to remember that everyone's doing this. This isn't like, hey, Tulare shut down and Visalia is still rolling. This is almost countrywide. It is, well, countrywide schools are shut down. So your student being behind, it's not like, oh, the kid in Texas is going to be 6 months ahead of my kid. The kid in Texas is right with you. And one of the things I tell parents when I do some of the parent education things is, guys, in all reality, I see your kids for 1 hour a day. Okay, I might see them at break, I might see them at lunch, but as a 7th grade teacher, I see them for 1 hour a day. You see them from the time they get home until the time they get up in the morning. If you can put some energy into them, and I know that kind of asks a lot, but for me, when I find that I sit with my kids and help them, it goes a long ways to helping them. Okay, and now with me not even seeing them, now elementary teachers are a little different. They see their kids 6.5 hours a day. But for the junior high and high schoolers, there is an expectation that those kids are doing some work at home, and they know that. So keep that up. But again, please don't, all of us are dealing with anxiety right now. Okay, all of us have called our doctors and raised our doses on our medication because this is difficult. But remember, your kids are not going to be behind the kids in Northern California because they're open and we're not. They're not open. They're doing the same thing we're doing. They're struggling through this. I got a friend that he's a computer and history teacher up in Rockland that I communicate with, and he says the same. They are struggling just like we are. They're trying to figure this out. They are not suddenly magically have a pill that made them better than us. So, yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Alex. It is a difficult time. And as far as high school with credit, I know they're trying to work that out. As far as elementary, it's a little different. So,
oh, thanks for that. We got another great question here from Edie. This is a really interesting one. Hadn't quite thought about this angle before. What can grandparents do, or I guess anyone in that case, to help kids from long distance? So I guess almost take kind of the role of another teacher, or just kind of help augment that learning somehow. Any thoughts on that?
yeah, I haven't really thought of that one. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, the way I think of it for my kids' grandparents is it's almost that break form. The way I use it is if the grandparents are needing to step in, excuse me,
Bless you.
if the grandparents are needing to step in to do some of the learning, maybe they do a fun activity with them over the phone. Make them do some, for a kindergartner, one of the things my kindergartner was learning was do objects float or not. So today we were filling buckets and we were dropping objects in them, but I didn't even think about it. It would have been a lot more fun for my kindergartner if grandma got on the phone and filled a bucket and she was throwing things in and saying, does this float? Does this float? So that might be one way. Utilize the people in your life that have that opportunity to be kind of more of the fun ideas. And I know elementary teachers are really trying to put some of that out there where the kids are not just stuck at a computer, at a work state, doing worksheets. They want the kids to do fun things. So another thing my 2nd grader had to do, he had to learn about, my kindergartner was learning about the aquarium. My brother lives in Monterey. I could have easily called him. Again, ideas that are popping into my head. I didn't think about calling him and have him do something and talk about the aquarium. He has season passes. He goes all the time. He could have talked to her about the aquarium. He could have pulled up pictures and showed her. Instead of her watching some random YouTube video, she's now getting first-person interaction with someone that she knows, that she loves, to teach her about those things. And so if you got a high schooler and they're learning about World War II and you've got a grandparent, so that'd be my grandparents. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you got someone from the Vietnam War,
Sure.
something like that. They can teach them about that. Maybe they want to learn about the last time there was something crazy like this, which I don't know if there was Spanish flu of 1918. So I don't think any of those people are still alive. But talk about times where they were stuck in that. Let them give them stories. Let them read a book to them. My kids love. When I want to read my kids love me reading a book when it's late at night. But man, middle of the day, if my grandparent, when I drop them off at grandma's house and she sits on the couch, says, "Come here and read a book," they will read a book with her for 30 minutes. I try and get my kids to read a book for 30 minutes. They don't care. So yeah, those are the kind of things I would encourage you. They can do the reading instead of them listening to a random person, which is still going to work if that's what you got. My kids do like it, but have the grandparents do something like that. They will be able to help. My dad's a contractor. He could easily talk about angles and building things and incorporate that into math. I mean, use what they know, have them learn that stuff.
Oh, that's a fantastic answer. Yeah, I remember I had a lot of fun with my grandparents, and so yeah, that was always a nice little getaway. Okay, it looks like we pretty much have the questions wrapped up in terms of folks asking online, unless any come in, and obviously want to make it open for everybody. If you have any questions afterwards, like Blake mentioned, you want to reach out to him directly, you want to reach out through us, we can definitely pass those questions along and get you some answers. Just kind of looking forward and looking, I don't know if this is another one that you want to field or not, but just personally kind of curious, what do you think things look like when schools finally do open back up? Do you have any idea, conversations going on in terms of whether, what I've heard is maybe, some would be in class while others are distance learning still. It's a tough one.
Yeah, and there's a lot out there, and I'll be honest, I don't want to say something, especially with this going on YouTube later, and
Yeah,
have someone
sure.
come back and say it. There's a lot of stuff. There is stuff like that out there. There's stuff talking about half days. There's stuff talking about day one is group 1, day 2 is group 2. No matter what, it's going to look different. I don't know. We don't know. The governor did come out with a committee. Got an email last night from CTA, our union, saying that our union president, superintendent of schools or it might be union president, is on that committee with the superintendent of schools to help start developing something. From my own personal standpoint, it's going to look different in different places, is what I think. There's going to be some universal guidelines, kind of like we have now with our reopening. But I think it's going to look different in different places, and it's going to be based on the needs of the community and the ability of the community to follow those guidelines. But as far as speaking to what that will look like for sure, your guess is as good as mine. And if I've said something, I've heard things said, and then the very next day that is completely changed to something else. And then 3 days later, it's something else. So I'll tell you right now, unless you hear it, an actual thing from the governor saying, this is the plan, it's not the plan yet. Okay. So,
Right.
because there's a lot of people coming out and saying stuff, what they wish would happen, what they think will happen. But until the people at the top tell us what to do, we're kind of treading water. We're trying to plan how to just get through the end of this school year. We're sitting down, hey, we got 4 weeks to go. What does that look like for the next 4.5 weeks? And then over the summer, we're hoping we get some guidelines, which I think that's the purpose from the email I got last night. They're trying to get something to us to say, here's your guidelines to reopen in the fall. So
Yeah.
that's what we.
No, yeah, great. And you're totally right. I mean, just in line with everything else, things change by the day. So much is up in the air. So appreciate you taking a stab at it. But there's obviously a lot of moving parts. But okay, it looks like that's it for the questions. So Blake Maskey, I really appreciate you taking the time. It does mean a lot. For any folks out there who are interested in, like I say, getting in touch, please feel free to reach out either through our Facebook page, by going on to drewphelps.com, sending us an email, making a phone call. We're always happy to pass along information, whether it's related to this town hall. If there's any folks out there, I always like to mention this, if there's any folks out there that need any sort of help in this time, whether it's with masks, groceries, prescription deliveries, anything like that, please get in touch. We're really happy to help out. And so I'll finish and just say thank you so much, Blake. Really appreciate you taking the time. And thanks so much to all of you tuned in.